Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Linda's Plants for You. It's been a while since I've been able to film, and I apologize for the delay, but most of you know my story, and I'm sure you'll understand. But actually today is a pretty sad day for me, my friends. I have been really taking a close look at each individual plant that I own, and almost all of them, I would say about 90% of them, need attention. It either need repotting, or they need to be moved into a different space. But this one, and I wasn't really wanting to, I didn't want to make a negative video. I don't like that, and that was not my intention. But as I was working on this plant, I thought, you know what, there's other people that struggle with these same things, and I'm thinking they might want to see that my plants are not always, you know, healthy and tip-top. I too have issues, and because of my 5-day stay in the hospital and then not being able to do anything for weeks afterwards, I had to depend on others to take care of my plants. And even though they were, you know, very, very diligent in trying to do what I asked, how I asked, and this is just not anybody's fault. It is what it is. It's kind of like parents with children. And I have children and grandchildren. And I have a great-grandchild, so please understand that. I know that there's a huge difference between a plant and a human. However, when you're parenting, even two people who love each other very much and live under the same roof, and both contribute to the physical makeup of that child, they have differences in how they parent. And that's kind of like how it is with plants. What is a little bit of water to me might be a third of a cup. It might be a half a cup to somebody else. So my analogy may not be the best in the world, but I'm just trying to explain that although my family tried very hard to help me the best that they could, some plants got overwatered, some got underwatered, and this is the result. And this particular plant, my Purple Passion, those of you that have been following me, you can go back and look on past videos and see how beautiful this plant once was. And it still has a lot of beauty in it. It has a lot of good, healthy structure, but it's got issues. And I just started taking it apart, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to video this because I think this might be helpful to others. So that's where we're at. So far I've cut off a lot of, not a lot, but a handful of, I pulled off the dead leaves, like these. Let me see if I can flip that so I can see if you can. I have my camera coming in at a different angle today, for various reasons I won't go into, but so I hope that you all can see what I'm doing. Basically, I'm just taking out all the dead stuff that's laying on the soil. I already have a pretty good amount. I'll show you here. And I thought I had scale, and I was talking to Susie from Suzette's Gardens, and we were going over the different types of scale, and she wasn't sure that it was scale, and I think once again she might be right. I think it might just be old, you know, the woody stems that you get with this plant when they get older. But one of the things that was concerning me was, you know, it's not so much, let me see if I can find one. Now, we all get excited when our plants flower, right? And these are flowering. That is also a sign of extreme stress. There's a lot of plants, including succulents, that if you want them to change color or you want them to flower, just put them under stress for a couple of days or a week, and you'll get that. So I think that's why this is happening. And I'm hoping that you can see this. Maybe I should hold it under the light. And if you see things flying around here, they're not fungus gnats, although they look like it. They're fruit flies, and they came in on a tomato that was broken open. So I've been struggling to get rid of those for about a week or two now. But at any rate, that's what those are. Okay, so if you can see, the edges on these leaves are starting to turn brown, and I don't think that it's a disease. I think it's just stress. So what I'm going to do, and I'm going to cut off, I cut these off, and this this was not an easy thing for me to do. I mean, look at how long this is. I didn't want to do this, but I really felt like I needed to give her a fresh start. And what happened is, I had her in my laundry room in my east window, and my dear sweet husband, who knows how much I love my plants, just decided to spray it once in a while, and I didn't have the heart to tell him, no, don't do that, but I did have to eventually. And then it was completely drooped, and he watered it, and then he watered it again, and then he watered it again. So this basically went from being starved of water, totally dehydrated, to being overwatered. And I think that is the case with several of my plants. So that being the case, I think we will be able to bring these back to life. And, well, I'm pretty sure we will. There is still a lot of very good, healthy growth on this plant. So I'm not going to worry about it. But I do have to do something with it. I can't just, every time I look at it, it's like, I feel sick inside, really. I feel bad. And because it didn't have to be. It was because of our neglect. So, and regardless of whether we could help it or not, it's the same outcome. So I'm going to do what I can to save this plant. And I'm pretty sure I will have success in that. Okay, so I want to dig this up a little bit. I want to loosen the soil, and oh, there's a lot of roots in there, a lot of roots. So I'm pretty sure we're going to have very fast recovery here, but we'll see, and I will definitely give you an update on that. I am going to give this a spray of hydrogen peroxide and water. I just put it in a spray bottle, and unless I see, if I find any really bad insects on here, I will use alcohol. And that always works too. Now I know Susie had suggested maybe neem oil on one of my other plants. I don't care for the neem oil. I just don't have a thing for that for some reason. And I think it's just from things that I've heard over the years, and that it's not always effective. I've used my alcohol mixture with success every time, and I've never lost a plant because of it. So I guess for me, it's just, I don't see any reason to change what I'm doing at this point. Now this is where I'm coming into a question here, and I'm just going to pop this off. It's about ready to fall off. Hopefully you can see this leaf. That's a very strange thing that's going on with this leaf. it is, the color of it is, it's not indicative of underwater or overwater. There's something else going on here, and I just don't know what it is. So I'm just going to carry on, because otherwise this video is going to be 2 hours long. I have a lot of little shoots in here. I hope you can see. And I'm cutting back these the real long stems, because this plant grows very fast. And I'd rather cut it back to where it's extremely healthy and let it start over than try and salvage something that's iffy. Now, I don't know if you can see this here, but down in the bottom of here, there is a leaf I'm going to cut off because it does not want to stand up straight, and I don't want that to rot in the soil, because that is what invites problems. And I'm still pretty much down to one hand unless I stand, which I'm not able to do right now. So I have to do this one-handed. So just bear with me. Now these leaves on here, these big leaves, these are big mature leaves, and they're healthy. And this is typical of this plant. They will lose their purple fuzziness as the leaves get bigger. So there's nothing wrong with those. However, if you can see, let's pull this one out. Let's maybe take this one down now. As you can see, this one, this is all bare here, and it's trying to support this. And there's new growth coming out the bottom here. So I'm going to cut that right above there and take it out. There we go. So that's going to open up the sunlight to these little shoots, and I'm going to get brand new growth from there. And we're going to do something with these later. Now, I see some telltale signs of insect problems here. I'm seeing some silvery specks on the backs of the leaves, but above that, the new growth doesn't seem to have a problem. So I don't know if that's old. I don't know. Well, we'll see. We'll see what happens. Okay, and then we've got another one here with the same issue. Gonna cut right above the node where that new growth is coming out, because as you can see, the bottom is already half. Some of them are dead. I'm going to cut those off and cut more of this off and stick it back in the soil. And I'm going to do that all shortly. But I'm seeing something on this leaf that I want to look at closer. I don't know if that's just, that's just the way the light's shining on it, I think. Ugh. I have a high power magnifying glass. This was from an old camera of my husband's. And some of you might remember that I told you years ago my husband and I were very much into antique. We were actually antique dealers, and we used to buy and sell on eBay. I went under my name was Trucker's Widow, and that's because my husband was a truck driver back then, and he was gone a lot, and so hence the name. But anyways, when we were dealing with the antiques, there were a lot of things that we had to have, we had to be sure of the name before we could price these things. So when he came across this, and he said, try that, and that allowed me to be able to see the real teeny tiny, almost invisible markings on some of the things that we sold, so that we could price them accordingly. So I use that now for my plants. And the problem is I gotta get up pretty close to be able to see it. So you're not going to be able to see this. I won't, unfortunately will not be able to show that to you, what I'm looking at. But I just want to get a little bit closer look to make sure. No, I don't see anything. I think it's just the light reflecting. Now here's another leaf that I'm going to cut off. Even though it's a viable leaf, you see how it's sitting in the soil? And I watered this before I did this. I watered this yesterday morning, I think it was. I always try to water when I'm going to take cuttings. I try to water within 24 to 48 hours prior, so that what's left here can sustain itself. Otherwise it puts a lot of stress on the plant. Now you want it to, if you haven't watered it and you take cuttings, now you want that cutting to stay alive and produce roots, and that's a lot of stress. This one I'm going to cut off because I don't want it to rot in the soil. Okay. So if you guys, have any suggestions or comments, please feel free to leave them in the comments section, and let me know your thoughts, because like I've said many times, I'm not an expert in plants. I do share what I do know and what works for me, but many times there's more than one way to do things. Now this one, I have to look at this a little closer here. What do we got going on down here? More dead stuff. I have seen more than one plant person say that when they take off their old leaves, they just put them down in the soil because it turns to compost and feeds the plant. That is true for outdoors. I would not do that indoors, because the when you have a plant that is decaying, first of all, it sends off a pheromone and to other plants. Secondly, that pheromone is an attractant to certain types of pests. It says, I'm in trouble, I'm dying, come eat me. It's the natural order of things. And it also creates quite a mess in your pot. It will stink after a while. And it's just really, really not a good thing to do. So I would not follow that advice if I were you. I always take the dead leaves off and out of my soil, and I get them out of the house as soon as possible. So that's how I do it. Okay. Um, okay, I think what I'm going to do here is I'm going to cut this back. Normally I would cut it to here. There's a node there. But I think I want to even go down further to give this more strength. I'm going to cut that right there. And that's a huge piece. And I know a lot of people are going to say, oh my gosh, what you're doing to your plant. But please trust me, it's going to be fine. It will come back more beautiful and stronger and better than ever. Okay, so not to worry. And I'll do an update on this and I'll show you. Okay, so I'm going to continue. This is going to probably take me at least an hour to finish up what I'm doing here. So I'm going to turn the camera off for now, and then I'll come back when I'm done. And I need to also take a break here. So I will come back and finish this up, and I will show you the finished product when I'm done. Okay, so I'll be back shortly. Alrighty, we're done. As you can see, there is the fallout. It's quite a pile. It really, it was hard. It was hard to cut all that off. Yeah, I was cringing while I was doing it, but I knew it was for the end result, and so I just did what I had to do. But now you can see a lot of very healthy, viable plant left. So what I did is I cut these off by the nearest node. I cut them on an angle. It's always best to cut on an angle because it exposes the maximum amount of the stem, the inside, that soaks up the moisture and the nutrients. So I cut that on an angle, and I cut all the leaves that were compromised. So, you know, I tried looking at this through that magnifying lens, and I didn't see anything moving. I couldn't see any signs of, I did see some signs, I shouldn't say that. Excuse me. A couple leaves had some silver markings on the back, and I know that is a sign of one of the insects. I forget which one off the top of my head, but it was only a couple leaves out of all of that pile, so I don't think that was an issue here. I really think this was all due to inconsistent watering. And before I end this video, I just want to talk on that just for a moment. When we are inconsistent, our plants will react to that. If they get used to drying out, and then for instance, if you water a plant once every 2 weeks, and then all of a sudden you start watering it once every couple of days, 3-4 days, you're going to confuse the plant. It just doesn't know what to do, and it's going to react accordingly. So it's just like when you put, for instance, when you're rooting a plant, if you root it in water, your water roots are not the same as soil roots. And very often, and that's I think why a lot of people prefer to root things in soil, because very often if you root it in water, when you transfer it to the soil, the plant doesn't know what to do. It has to acclimate itself to the soil, to getting the nutrients out of the soil instead of out of the water. So I'm having a hard time, I think, expressing what's in my head here, but I think you get the idea anyway. But this is where we're going to leave this for now. I'm going to go download this to my computer and get it up and running. For those of you that haven't heard from me in so long and are missing me, I so appreciate that. And I'm trying. I'm really trying. So I do have physical therapy I'm starting today, so that's a good sign. And we'll see how that goes. And hopefully before I know it, I'll be back up and running like normal pretty soon, I hope. In the meantime, you can kind of look forward to the videos that I am going to be doing. I think are going to be mostly this type of video where I'll be repotting. I've got a few plants that I got to cut back. Like I said in my last video, a lot of my plants need some serious, tender, loving care. And even if I can only do one plant a day, that is my goal, to get that done and get them in as healthy condition as I can before we go into winter. And I know I've got a little time yet, but I've also got a lot of plants. So I want to get things cleaned up here, the plants and the things that they're, the surroundings, the shelves that they're sitting on, and just get it all nice and clean again before winter sets in. And I'm going to be bringing that to you as well. So I hope you look forward to that, and I hope you'll come back and join me. I noticed the other day that I've got 753 followers, and I so appreciate those subscribers. I want you to know I appreciate you very, very much. I am working toward my goal of 1,000, so if you know of anybody that you think would benefit or would enjoy watching these type of videos, please pass on my name and my my Linda Sue Plants For You YouTube channel. I'm also on Instagram, and that's also Linda Sue Plants For You. And I guess that's about it for now. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up, and hopefully I'll see you in the real near future. Alright. You all take care now. Bye-bye.